Throughout its history, the United States has undergone a remarkable amount of territorial expansion, transforming from a small group of 13 colonies into a vast nation spanning from coast to coast. The first significant expansion of the United States occurred with the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, which doubled the size of the country overnight. Then, in the 1840s, the Mexican-American War led to the annexation of Texas and the acquisition of California, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado, Utah, and Nevada. By the mid-19th century, the United States had also acquired Florida, Alaska, and the Oregon Territory, and the Gadsden Purchase of 1853 added additional territory in the Southwest. Following the Civil War, the United States experienced rapid growth and expansion as settlers moved westward to claim land and build new communities. By 1890, the United States had officially closed the western frontier and had achieved its current size and shape, although new territories would be acquired in the years to come, including Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines in the aftermath of the Spanish-American War. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the timeline of the United States expansion and explore the key events of the Alaska Purchase. In 1732, the Russian merchants and fur trappers arrived in Alaska. The Russian-American Company received a charter to hunt for fur in 1799, but no colony was established. The Russian Orthodox Church sent missionaries to the natives and built churches. Around 700 Russians enforced sovereignty over a territory that was over twice as large as Texas in 1821. Sar Alexander Fern issued an edict claiming Russia's sovereignty over the North American Pacific coast, north of the 51st parallel. North, the edict forbade foreign ships to come within 100 miles of the Russian claim, which Secretary of State John Quincy Adams protested to maintain favorable relations with the U.S. Alexander agreed to the Russo-American Treaty of 1824, where Russia agreed to limit its claims to lands north of parallel 54° 40 north, and to open Russian ports to U.S. ships. By the 1850s, the once abundant population of sea otters, which were highly prized for their fur, had dwindled to the point of near extinction in Alaska. This was a significant blow to the Russian-American Company, which relied heavily on the otter trade as its primary source of revenue. As the otter population declined, Russia began to see the value of Alaska diminish and sought to divest itself of the territory. From 1853 to 1856, the Crimean War was a military conflict fought between Russia and an alliance of Britain, France, and the Ottoman Empire. The war was primarily fought over the control of territories in the Balkans, but also had wider geopolitical implications related to the balance of power in Europe. The war saw several major battles, including the Siege of Sevastopol, and ultimately ended in a victory for the Allies. The Treaty of Paris, signed in 1856, ended the war and resulted in Russia losing territory, meaning restricted in terms of its naval presence in the Black Sea and having to pay reparations to the Allies. The conflict left Russia in a financial crisis, and the sale of Alaska was considered as a possible solution to alleviate the situation. In the 19th century, Russia's greatest rival in the Pacific was Great Britain. The British colony of British Columbia had a strategic naval base at Esquimalt, and Russia saw an opportunity to weaken British power in North America. By selling Alaska to the United States, the sale would lead to the surrounding or annexation of British Columbia by the United States. Additionally, the United States had been expanding westward and had a growing interest in the Pacific Northwest. In 1857, Emperor Alexander Tai offered to sell the territory to the United States, hoping that it would help diminish the British ambition in the region. However, no deal was reached, as the risk of an American Civil War was a more pressing concern in Washington. The negotiations between the United States and Russia over the Alaska Purchase began in 1859, but they were interrupted by the American Civil War in 1867. Secretary of State William Seward resumed negotiations with Russia's envoy to the United States, Edward de Stockel. The two sides quickly reached an agreement on a purchase price of $2 million, or about 2 cents per acre. After the agreement was reached, the U.S. Senate approved the purchase by a vote of 37-2, and President Andrew Johnson signed the treaty on April 9, 1867. As part of the treaty, the U.S. government also agreed to assume responsibility for paying off a $3 million debt that Russia owed to the United States. This debt had been incurred during the Crimean War, when Russia had borrowed money from the United States to finance its military operations. The U.S. government then took possession of Alaska on October 18, 1867, and a ceremony in Sitka, the former capital of Russian Alaska. The Alaska Purchase was initially met with skepticism and criticism. Many Americans felt that the purchase was a waste of money, and that Alaska was a frozen wasteland with little economic or strategic value. Some even called it Seward's Folly, or Seward's Icebox, after Secretary of State William Seward, who had spearheaded the negotiations after the transfer of Alaska to the United States. Most Russian citizens left Sika and returned to Russia due to the poor living conditions and rowdy troops. American settlers who believed in the riches of Alaska rushed to the territory, but found that much capital was required to exploit its resources, resulting in a decline in population. However, the seal fishery provided considerable revenue to the U.S., some years later yielding 100,000 skins a year and earning English laborers $12 million by 1890. Exclusive U.S. control of the seal fishery was challenged, leading to the Bering Sea controversy with the Britain Empire. The conflict was resolved by an arbitration tribunal in 1893, deeming the Bering Sea to be international waters and requiring both nations to follow regulations developed to preserve the resource. In 1896, gold was discovered in a tributary of the Klondike River in Canada's Yukon Territory, which quickly led to a rush of people from around the world to the area, leading to the Klondike Gold Rush. The gold rush had a significant impact on Alaska, as the quickest way to reach the gold fields was by boat through the ports of Alaska, resulting in a surge in population and commerce in the territory. The gold rush also spurred the development of new mining technologies and techniques, and many of the people who arrived in Alaska during this time stayed to settle and establish businesses, contributing to the growth of the territory. The Alaska Purchase had significant consequences for both Russia and the United States. For Russia, the sale was a major blow to its aspirations of expanding its power and influence in North America. It also contributed to its loss in the Russo-Japanese War a few years later, and the eventual downfall of the Russian Empire, which was struggling with economic and political issues for the United States. Despite the initial criticism, Alaska eventually proved to be a valuable addition to the United States. The sale helped the United States to expand its territory and secure access to valuable resources, including gold, timber, fish, and minerals that helped fuel the country's economic growth in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Alaska also played a key role in World War II as a strategic location for military bases and as a source of natural resources for the war effort. It strengthened America's position as a global power and contributed to its eventual emergence as a superpower. Today, Alaska is the largest state in the United States, and its natural beauty and abundant resources continue to attract visitors and businesses alike as a strategic location, as a gateway to the Pacific.